Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here, Councilmember Andrew, Member Dan. Comments tonight. I'd like to suggest that you follow the procedure that any council meetings under the circumstance requesting applications. Whatever. You know, what is it might be for a person, council member? What I'm seeing right now is that all, well, three of these have to do with now, and they use that would have an older person to represent that community, and knowing
Is it green? It'd probably be easier for me to do it from here. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. I can adjust it from here. Well, so my first of all, we actually apologies for reading another thing we could do is replace the council member. Open this. I also want to encourage you to consider the bigger picture.
chases out the best ideas. We all fail to do this at times. It's because it's human and we get very much into our own points, but it's an important part of the process. We all have agendas. Some of them are tacit and some of them are visible, and some of them are visible to others and not to ourselves. When you're in a policy-making position, the careful consideration of ideas necessitates laying down your need to be right and even your right to be right sometimes in order to give knowing if you could be wrong equal opportunity. It's not something we do naturally. It's something that has to be planned. Last, I would like to ask you to please consider creating a public opportunity for citizens to address potential candidates with their own questions. I trust that you'll ask open questions of the candidates yourselves and create a method perhaps so that citizens can do that as well. Choose someone for this council seat who can help you understand where your positions may be weak and may be weak unbeknownst to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well.
Can I ask one question? Sure. Do you have a suggestion for how we might, I really like that idea of public opportunity for citizens to ask questions and address.
You can invite anyone who's interested in joining the council to actually be here.
Yeah, okay.
And it could just be that simple. It doesn't have to be super formal. But I'm also aware, citizens have the ability to write anyone who's said that their name is in the ring as well. So that always exists, but sometimes when public facing, you might get a better idea, I think. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Okay. We don't have any resolutions or ordinances, and before we go to discuss, it's too bad Dan left. I did want to thank him for his service on the town council. I don't remember how many years ago it was that he joined, 6 maybe? But I do remember that Dan was kind of the lone voice of reason for a while on the town council, and thankfully got to a point where he could settle down a lot of issues that were controversial. And when he became mayor, it really was a breath of fresh air that we kind of cleared ourselves of a lot of controversies, and things became boring again in a good way. So I think he was a real asset to the town and the community, and I was very appreciative of his years on the town council, and especially those as mayor. So thank you to him, even though he's gone. I do appreciate what he did for the town of Sycamore Mountain. So on to the discussion and the procedures regarding the council seat vacancy. I will say that somebody provided us an email with kind of a breakdown of how it's been done in the past. I hope that none of us here want to just name names and start appointing people. I think we all want to go through the process of getting applicants. That is the best way to do it. I know in the past, some people have tried to just appoint, somebody that they wanted, but it's, I think, most of the time turned to accepting applicants and voting. So yes. Assume everybody wants to do that. Now, how we vote would be another question. Certainly, we have 2 more meetings before the 30 days runs out. And for anybody that doesn't know, our charter gives us only 30 days to replace the person who has resigned. 30 days starting from the day of resignation, which was a Saturday, so that we lost a couple of days until today to get the process started. But and after that, according to the ordinance, there has to be a special election, and we don't want that because it's terribly expensive. So we need to work hard during these 30 days and get the word out to encourage people to apply if they're interested. And I think Dan had a good idea about the public getting the opportunity to ask questions. The way they did it back in 2006 would have, I think, given that opportunity, because they invited all the applicants to the meeting where they had the vote. The applicants could give a statement, and I guess we could have public opportunity to ask them questions at that point. Or we could, we could also ask that the public, if they have particular questions that they want to be asked of the applicants, they could always email someone, either Harry or Boyd, whoever's going to take the questions and put things together, and we can get those questions to the applicants to be answered also. So anyway, I think the most important thing to know is that we have 30 days to get this done, and we have 2 meetings until that 30 days is up. So it's time to get to work. Anybody have any particular comments or questions?
I have, my reworking, I figured it would be easier than going through change by change with a red line.
Of these questions that were sent out?
Questions, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly this would not be a final, but I have a copy for
Okay.
folks. The top
It's not,
is the
it's not in
changed-
red line, or is it? It is
The
red
top
line.
is the changed version, and then there's enough for Boyd.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
And then behind that, you'll see a red line version.
oh.
And that doesn't need
Yeah, I
to
was gonna
start
say,
the
the-
discussion or anything.
We'll let Carol have the
Yeah.
other copy.
But as we discussed, I thought it might be faster if we have that in our hands.
Okay. By the way, can I take something a little out of order so I don't forget it? And that is that the Personnel Committee is having a meeting, I think, in a week. And so we need to have somebody appointed to the Personnel Committee, at least, if we can't agree, then temporarily. I would propose Andrew, who wanted to be on the Personnel Committee at the beginning and ceded to Dan for that. I would propose for Andrew to be appointed the liaison, assuming he wants that. But if anybody else prefers to be on it, let's discuss. So I don't forget, we get that done.
That sounds like a good suggestion.
Okay, so all agreed, Andrew will be appointed the Personnel Committee liaison. Dan was also on the DRC liaison. We can wait and appoint that when the next person comes around, but this one is meeting soon, and it's an
Yeah.
important meeting, so. All right, thank you, Andrew, for taking that on.
Thank you.
And if you want to give up a role because you're taking that on, we can put that on the next incoming person as well. All right. So sorry to interrupt. I wanted to get that taken care of. Oh, and Boyd sent us a copy of the pay scale plan, and I think that's what's going to be addressed at the Personnel Committee. So if you could send that out to the Personnel Committee, or maybe Boyd can send it to them so that they'll all have a copy in preparation for that meeting and in plenty of time to go over it. That would be good. All right, those are the 2 things I wanted to get out of the way. All right, on to the questions. I see one change at the top. It says return to Charlie Poss, which is fine with me if that's how y'all want to do it. I think we can have them sent to Harry as well, or it doesn't matter to me, but I'll let you go through
Yeah,
it.
my thought was Charlie or Harry
Okay,
gathering the communications and disseminating.
okay.
I personally don't have a preference on that. Certainly, I know you're both busy. And then I reworded that, the end of that front section there, just to kind of simplify it a little bit. I felt the rhetorical questions were maybe a little accusatory or and just took a different approach, saying like, this is a significant time investment. Be warned, and I think a lot of those things are obvious,
Yeah.
and we can just condense it. And y'all, I'll give you time to read over that, but I'll go through the rest of them here real quick. A lot of them are just reordering, and then I added one question, and removed some that I felt were unnecessary, or maybe didn't really approach what I view as our task here, is to try to find the citizens' representative. It's not about any agenda or agreement or disagreement we may have with that person on their particular viewpoints. And so some of these I felt like were either irrelevant, and that first one would be, how long have you been a resident of the town? If you're a voter, and per our charter, there's no residency requirement. In fact, we have a larger probably portion right now of residents that have just moved here that might want to be represented. I moved the question up, please explain why you wish to serve on the Signal Mountain Town Council. I think that's a really important one. Moved it to the front, and then added the new question, what is your prior work and civic experience, which kind of covered some of these other ones, and how will that enable you to serve the citizens of the town? Moved approximately how many town council meetings have you attended in the last 2 years to later on. And then deleted, do you plan to run for Signal Mountain Town Council in the November 2022 election?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't.
It shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter. Yeah, shouldn't matter.
Do you have a different?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there you see where I moved approximately how many town council meetings, and where I removed and moved forward. Please explain why. And that's it.
I like the flow of it. I mean, I like your changes.
I wondered if we would add something about what issues are, not asking what do you believe about, but what issues in themselves are interested, or do you think are the most important facing our town? Something, not asking for what you think, yes or no, but just asking what issues do you see?
Please list the issues that you
Yeah,
see
get
as
top
most
three.
That would
or-
be an interesting point to
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
What are your top two? And then also I thought about asking, I know not everybody has one, but it would be interesting, a resume, if they have a resume they can attach. I don't know if that's legal or not, but it would be interesting just to have a resume attached if they have one. I mean, not make it, but just a
A
suggestion.
lot of people attach them to
Any-
committee and board assignments too, so I
Yeah.
think that,
I think having a resume would be a good,
Okay,
those are my two suggestions.
so resume. And then another thing I think we may want to add, I would like to add to the language, and this is thinking along Dan's line there, which is, if we want citizens to be able to ask questions, I think at the end here in this paragraph, we need to say something about making their email and maybe phone number public, that they're consenting to that, to have people, the opportunity for people to communicate with them.
Well, yeah, I don't know that they need to have people contact them at home at this point if they're just applying. I was thinking maybe, people can send in questions they have that can be sent to everybody who can then reply
Okay.
or show up at a
I do
meeting.
kind of like the
Yeah.
public forum of that
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, I'd rather see them, if people could send questions to us that they're interested in asking, as often there's going to be questions that are exactly the same or very similar, so we could save some time with that. And then also, I think that the best answers that we would get from those questions would be when we give those questions to the people that are interested to being on the council ahead of time. So, because deer in headlights is not what we're interested in seeing here.
Yeah.
We want to really see what people think.
Yes.
Right.
And it's not fair to people to say, all of a sudden, what do you think about this when so I would suggest that we provide beforehand.
Okay. We do need to like suggest a deadline for
Yes.
responding. It may be on here. But we also need to make it clear that the meeting where we're going to be voting would be the last meeting of the month, which is still within our timeline, right, Boyd? I think we have 30 days. We might want to make sure that that's within 30 days. I think it is.
The 27th is the last meeting of the month, right? 'Cause we
So
meet the
that's close
13th.
call.
Well, yeah, we meet the 13th, and then 2 weeks after that. That's close.
Yeah, when I count 30 days, I don't count the first day, so it would not be the 28th. I'd say the 29th will be the first day. But I have a program on my computer that I always use for counting days, and I don't have that with me.
Yeah.
What is the 30th, the
27th.
27th?
So that would be the last day we could possibly have a meeting.
Yeah, that's
to-
kind of
to vote on it.
scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either that or we have a special meeting called ahead of that to do the voting.
I
But
mean,
yeah, it
I
is.
feel like we would, yeah, it's the last day, but if we agree on a process,
Yeah.
voting, how that's going to look
Okay.
today and respect that process, we should be fine.
All right. Through rain, sleet, snow, or hail, we'll show up and have a vote. So we can get that done. And I think at some point we may want to think about amending that part of the charter. 30 days is not very much
No,
time
it's
to
not.
replace someone. I don't know the reasoning behind 30 days, but you don't want to be stuck having to go to a special election because it's so costly. And there's nothing in the charter that says, unless otherwise voted on or agreed upon by the remaining council members, and that maybe should be added so that we can extend the time if we need to. So I don't know what it takes to change the charter, but I kind of think we, during this process, should consider
Basically, a
that.
state legislative action.
We have to get the state to change it? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, we may want to.
There's a lot of little
consider
things
that.
like that, though,
It's-
that we may want to
And it's
put
something that
together
comes
and-
up, I don't want to say all the time, but pretty
Frequently,
frequently. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
it's happened how many times? Like 5 times in the last 10 years, or no,
Well, twice last year.
15 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it happened
yeah.
twice.
I mean, I feel like if we had something where we could say, we could have a meeting or a vote to extend it by X number of days. That way, if we had some sort of problem, if there were a bunch of snow days or something, we could give ourselves a little breathing room.
And I think the process of how we go about doing it, I mean, I'm not saying that we have to like dictate to future councils how they should do it, but this really could kind of put some new protocols in place that is, I mean, I kind of like everything we're talking about here.
Yeah,
It's pretty clear and it's very transparent and it engages the public, and those are all good things.
right. I agree. Well, so at least the plan for now will be to hold the vote on the 27th. And let's double check and triple check that that's within the 30 days from the 28th, if y'all don't mind. And if it's not, or if there's a question about it, we can talk about it at our next meeting and just call for a special meeting. So we're going to have the vote on the 27th. We should get applications in by what day?
I mean, this is, I don't want to, we don't even need to, but the charter doesn't lay out at all, really, any kind of specifics as to how that period begins for 30 days. Do we formally accept the resignation today, now that we're meeting?
I
And
think the
that
charter
begins 30
says
days?
is upon resignation.
Upon
So once
resignation.
he
'Cause
resigns.
it's at effective immediately.
I think you better count on it being
Yeah, okay.
was it the 28th, I think is
Yeah,
when his email was sent.
yeah. I mean, it would have been better to have it effective a later date to give us more breathing room, but we didn't get that, so.
Well, I mean, if we wanted to do, if he was, you know, effective the 28th, 2 weeks from the 28th would be the 11th of September. Or maybe we could say, you know, have applications turned in like September the 12th.
Well, we haven't gotten the word out yet. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about it a little bit. We asked people to get, you know, think about it at one of our last meetings.
But it wasn't a formal
Yeah.
announcement until Saturday.
So,
We could look at that the week of, maybe not Monday the 13th, but the week of the 13th, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
And
like
then-
the 15th or something,
Yeah,
make
like the-
September the 15th the deadline.
Yeah, like to accept applications through the 15th, and then to allow the questions to be turned in to us between the 15th and the 22nd.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
then from that, we can, or no, I'm sorry, from the 15th to the 20th is my thought. That would be Monday, the 20th is when we'd cut off questions, because people could still be sending us questions in the meantime.
Yeah.
you got to
And
give the
then-
candidates time to sort
Yeah,
of
and then give the
do their
candidates
homework.
time a week.
A week.
If
yeah.
we,
Okay.
if we give them the questions from citizens on September 20th.
All right, all sounds good. So the 15th will be the deadline,
Yeah,
and then the 20th will be the deadline for public to send questions in to
Yes.
have us submit to the candidates?
Right, but they could send it in, they can start sending them in today. if they
Yeah.
start, But
Yeah.
that gives us, and then that way, are we gonna have the candidates give us their answers in writing, or are we just gonna like do it debate style on the town council meeting on the 27th?
you know, when I was running as a candidate, I really enjoyed the forums. Like, I felt like that was such a good way to, because some people have, you know, might write a certain way, and some people might communicate verbally a certain way, but you really kind of have an opportunity to get to know people. And I think it really gives you a good glimpse as to how, you know, a candidate is able to take on a subject and talk about it. So,
Okay. It might create for a long meeting, depending on how many candidates we
true.
have.
Well, and I mean, I guess,
If we have other stuff to do as well, then,
or how many questions?
yeah,
Maybe we pick, maybe the citizens send us questions, and then we can look at them as far as the body of questions and try to pick out the ones that are the most asked, like the 5 questions that are.
Top 5 or something.
Yeah, the 5 questions that are
4
most
topics.
asked, or that are ballpark the same. Or we could just look at all the body of questions and come up between the 4 of us, what questions we feel like would be the most descriptive, although that is taking away some of the capacity for citizens to
How
and
question.
we have to have a public
How about
meeting for that,
this?
too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What if
because
we
of
were
that.
can we each submit, like, to Harry, our top 5 questions, and then Harry can put them together and send them out to the candidates?
Yeah.
Is
can
that
we do-
appropriate?
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay,
So we'll get the questions from citizens. We'll look at those and determine the top 5 questions and send those to Harry.
Okay.
And he'll send them to the prospective council members. Is that what we're saying?
Okay, but I want to make
Yeah.
sure we don't end up with 25 questions.
Yeah. Well, no, it'd be 5 questions total, right?
Yeah, it'll be the top 5.
Top 5 questions.
Like, each of us says, this is our top 5 questions. Harry will put together the ones
Gotcha.
that we
And
agree
then
on,
he'll
and then
get
if we
5
don't
and
have
that.
5 that we agree on, if we have 3 that everybody agrees on, and then he'll have to just choose the next 2. We'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
In what's the most legally appropriate question to ask.
Okay.
So we're going to use your guidance on that. All right, so we're going to have questions by the 20th, and we'll have to get those to Harry as soon as possible after that, so that he can send them to the candidates.
Are we going to ask the citizens to send us their questions, or are we going to have them send them to you specifically?
That's a good question.
Can I make a suggestion? We just set up a specific email address for them to be sent to, so we know they all come to the same place, and then Sherry can just forward them to all of y'all.
I like that idea.
That's a great idea, since we have that snazzy new
Awesome.
email that we're working on, so.
Okay. All right, so, so that seems to be in place. And we like the questions that Andrew has reworked, and we can give those. Boyd has those.
We want to add, how do we want to phrase, list your top three?
Yeah, what are in your opinion, what are the top issues facing Signal Mountain in the future, in the next 2 years or the next 5 years? Something like that. What do y'all think? What are the issues, or what are the top 2 issues, top 3 issues?
I want to say, use the word list in that, because I don't want it to be an opining. Because again,
Yeah.
that's where we get into
Mm-hmm.
policy.
True,
And that's not, to me, that's not relevant to what we need to be doing.
you're right.
So I would say, please list your top 3.
Please list your top 3,
um,
the top 3 issues you consider that Signal Mountain
Issues.
is facing.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's have these sent to Harry. That way, if that's okay with you, Harry, that way you'll have all the applicants' names and email addresses for when you send out the questions to them. And then you can, collect them and send them to the town council members.
Okay.
So we'll put Harry's information up at the top. All right.
and the resume, requesting the resume.
Yeah. If,
Okay, let's see if there's anything. I think that's all good. All right, and the only other thing is, I think, let's discuss the ways we're going to get the word out. I think we can do our email blast. We have social media outlets we can use, our website. And then I don't know if you normally would put those in like the Times Free Press or the Chattanoogan or both. Maybe, I read the Chattanoogan.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's just
I think
quick
putting
and
something in the
easy and
Chattanoogan
free.
would be good. Pretty easy to do. I don't know about the Times Free Press, if that's easy to do, or, how the word gets out there. But we could do both. There's a Free Press, isn't there like a local paper?
Wednesday.
Yeah, so it could go in there, which would be a good, effective target audience. Is there any other outlet or way to get the word out besides those things?
I think those will be the most effective, certainly.
Okay. Also, we have that sign going up the mountain. I don't know if that's the place to put it. We don't want people to wreck because they're reading the details of town council
Where do I
election.
send
on
the
that
email
sign.
to?
Yeah. All right, well, I think we've got it covered. That's probably the best way we can get the word out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and the Chattanoogan is really good to put information in anyway, what we talk about. So hopefully they'll do that. And
Okay.
We could do both, or even put something in the comment section.
Just as a word of caution, I'm not going to tell somebody, not one of you guys and me, not to tell people, we want you to apply, but just think about the fact that if you tell a couple of friends to apply and they both do, then your allegiances are torn.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind about making suggestions. Maybe, if you want some people to apply, you get your friends to tell those people to apply. So that it's not coming from you and you're not bound by anything. All right, so that pretty much covers it. Can anybody think of anything else to cover?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask about the actual meeting we have on the 27th. Do we need to put in place now the procedures for how we're going to go through that meeting? Like, are we going to set it, like, we'll set it up like a forum, like, kind of like we did when we debated, but are we going to give people a minute to answer each question? Are we going to give them a minute to share? How do we want to go specifically that way? We're just going to take turns? Who's going to ask what question? Like, are we going to each take a question and ask it?
The more I think about that, and like, is that all too,
It's a lot.
should we just take answers we send out those questions and get answers by email during the week before? Because then you're watching the responses, and citizens don't have a time to react to the responses and then tell us what they're thinking about that.
Right, and then we have to vote that
Yeah,
night.
so if we take that week right before and we send the questions back out to the applicants and get responses by Wednesday, and then we can post that, then citizens have a chance to digest
Yeah.
the answers.
Yeah.
And us
that's
too.
good.
So
That's
we
right.
Because
just-
at that, it's like, there's no opportunity between the forum and.
That is true.
We may need to move up the date for the end of the questions, because if it's Monday and we're trying to get answers by Wednesday, that we've got to get them all out to people. We've got to go through them, pick our best ones, then get them out. Maybe we move that to Friday.
Or we could even do it both on the same day.
Both on the 15th,
Yeah, both,
Okay.
whatever day we cut off
All right.
applicants is the day we cut off citizen
which is
questions.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do
And that gives
that.
us, if we could send it to the proposed council people by the 17th or 18th and give them a week or so to answer, even if we give them till the 22nd, which is a Wednesday,
Yes.
that'll give us the 22nd, or, 23rd through the 27th, plus it'll give us the opportunity, if we have questions, that we can call and ask them as well ourselves,
Yeah.
I would think, just like we did with other council members or other committee applicants. Is that correct? Is that legal? Yeah, no, so yeah, I think that'd be good.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
15th for both. And then we're looking at hopefully turning around in a couple days, questions to those ones that have applied by the 15th. And giving them through Wednesday to respond, so that we can get
Tuesday,
that
through Tuesday, so that we can get it
out
to
to
Carol by Wednesday.
So we can have it
Or to
Tuesday, the 20,
which should
Sherry
be,
by
should be
Wednesday.
enough.
So we'd receive it on the 22nd. So the 21st would be the last day they could send something in. And if they don't send anything in, do they forfeit their application?
No.
There's another
No, you
question.
just
No.
declined to respond, you pleaded the fifth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I
Give
think
us,
it
it would
speaks
give
for
us
itself.
information. Yeah. It would be good information either way. And then the evening of, will we, will we debate what we think and just share that? Or we will give them opportunity to answer questions that we have to ask? I'm just trying to get very specific, because this can be a bear.
Yeah, I think that brings us all to the day we vote. And I know the last time when Cheryl was appointed, it was done by rank choice voting, but I think
Yep.
there were only 3 people, so that made it kind of easier. We don't know how many people there will be. Though when it was done, I think it was 2006, they just were looking for a majority, I guess. I don't know. I feel like if you had, say you had 5 people, you might want to, vote and get it down to the top 3 and then vote on the top 3. But I'm not sure the best way to do that.
Maybe we will have a number by the 13th, our next meeting.
that's what I was thinking.
Well, we'll know reason, are we in the 20s, or are we
Yeah.
at 3?
Right, okay.
And we can decide, I don't want to leave too much for that, but, because there's other important parts we probably should decide, but maybe the format of the voting is something we table today
That sounds
for
good.
the 13th. Is
That's
that-
what I think
Yeah,
too.
that's
I
fine.
think we need
Yeah,
to wait and
I'm just
see
asking.
what kind of response we get.
All right. All right, that
I
sounds
will
good.
say that one thing, looking through the prior processes, that I appreciated that was done almost every time, is just whatever that voting process is, I would prefer that it is public and put in the minutes,
Mhm.
so that it's transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we'll vote on, or we'll talk about the way of voting at our next meeting. And probably then we can talk about the process of asking questions. Everybody, maybe we could give them all a chance to do an opening statement if they wish, and then, you know, if we have questions, we can figure out a way we can ask those at the meeting. We'll talk about that in our next meeting.
Yeah.
And the one other thing I'm thinking about is, and maybe this is for next meeting too, are we, I guess at that point, I would think after getting their answers back, allowed to contact them? Are we going to do that as a matter of process and have a personal discussion? Again, I think in the past, Harry had mentioned that can be slippery, because if I want to build all new ball fields, then I'm going around and asking, hey, how do you feel
Right.
about them?
Yeah, how would
Which
you
I
do
don't. Then I'm just trying to, but I think we all understand, like, those aren't the questions I would be asking if I had those conversations. But I'm willing to, if you guys feel like those conversations are not appropriate, let's just not do them, to agree to that, or
One or the other.
or hey, like, go ahead, but let's all try to keep it to process and qualifications, I guess.
I mean,
I don't know, I'm rethinking, because I asked that question earlier, but I'm wondering with the amount of information we're going to receive based on the citizens' questions, I'm wondering if we don't ask them questions until the meeting, you know. So also, because if we ask one person one question, I know from being someone who interviews people for jobs, that it's really smart to ask everybody the same questions, pretty much, to first be transparent, and second, to give everybody an equal opportunity to answer.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I feel like the transparency piece of it is, and the equity within the candidates is critical to ensuring a fair process.
So I changed my mind right there. I undo my question.
So you talked yourself out of it.
I did. I talked myself out of it.
Okay. I agree. Good idea.
So no contacting directly.
That's
What I would supplement is we're going to pick our 5 questions from citizens. And can
Yes.
we throw one in our, just in case we didn't get that one thing we would have asked them all.
Sure, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We
And-
can talk about this again at our next meeting too, if anybody changes their mind or has any other ideas.
And for those people who contact us, we can just point them to the process.
Yes.
You know, so that way too, because I know people will contact us and ask questions. So
I
we can just
I like the
refer
feel
them.
of this.
Yeah,
a
we can
lot.
send them to you. That's what we can do.
All right.
Harry.
Okay, so that covers us, I believe. And if anything else needs to be discussed, we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting as well, to finalize the plans for the voting. So we are down to the next item on the agenda, which is communications and reports from the mayor and council, and reports from the committees or boards, which we will combine into one item. I don't think we have anything necessarily. I will, let's see. I thought I had something I was going to say. I'll just let everybody know. I talked to Hannah Rogers just to get us prepared for the next year. And Boyd had a good idea about going through department by department to kind of see, you know, what we can do, and, you know, if changes need to be made or what needs to be done. Hannah told me that MTAS will work with us on a department by department basis for free, to just kind of, work with us on things. So as we go through each department over the course of the next year, we can enlist MTAS's help to go through with us to, identify areas of concern or things that might be able to change, or maybe we can save money here or there. So that'll be down the road, but I just wanted to mention that I talked to her today, and I know you did too. So you may have talked about the same thing, but
Exactly the same
yeah.
thing, yep.
She told me that if they did all the departments at once, they would charge you for it, but if they do it department by department, they don't, so let's do that. That was a no-brainer. Okay.
Great.
All right, so anything else?
Rec board met last week, really just to review, walked around the progress at Marion and Driver Field. If you haven't been over there, don't walk on the field, but it is beautiful, and awesome work that's been done. I'm very excited for when it will be available. I think not Labor Day, but something coming up soon. 6 weeks-ish, something like that. I guess 5 now. But yeah, just night and day from what it was before, and should last us a long time, the way it's been done. So
Excellent. All right, anything else?
Just wanted to clarify, Andrew, you're going to do the final revisions on
sure, I
the
can send
application and
another.
send that in?
Yeah, another one. Yeah, with Vicky's changes, and yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Also, Susanna mentioned whether we need to have a mask requirement for the town hall.
I did want to mention that, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get off of that, is Charlie getting, who's the central
Oh,
person?
Harry's
or
gonna
Harry?
get them,
Harry.
yeah.
I've mentioned in an email to you all about the skyrocketing numbers of the Delta variant, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't implement a mask mandate for our municipal buildings. The city of Chattanooga implemented one in early August. So I think it's a good idea to try to, I know the MAC has got great procedures in place, but I think the time has come for us to really be prepared to hunker down. This variant is not going anywhere, and I think, people that live up here are looking for leadership in that way, and I think we need to show it.
What do you think about that, Boyd?
I've had the same thoughts. I think some facilities, I would like the department heads to have some latitude in their non-public areas. If they can function safely, if people have private workspaces and things like that. But in terms of the public spaces and public entering the building to do business, I think we are pretty much back at that point where it's just going to be the safest thing.
Yeah, all right.
We got to protect our employees.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should implement that. I don't know.
But I understand what you're saying too about the workspace and that.
So
I would say, if we're going to do that, I would prefer we put a date on it to reassess.
Yeah.
Because rather than let these things continue indefinitely, there are some promising things in the recent week in the statistics in terms of our positivity rate leveling off and perhaps starting to decrease.
Yeah.
A line item in our agenda every time we meet as a
I
town
kind
council,
of think about
or a month.
that what you're seeing out there, and look, the amount of work and research that we can have done on this is not going to compare to what Hamilton County schools and folks like that have done. And what we're seeing those folks do is, in those more extreme cases, they're kind of getting it through Labor Day, I guess, or something, is what I've seen, or maybe a little bit further. Because I think the reasoning behind that, if I'm reading it correctly, is that the Delta variant's very fast, unfortunately. But it's also can be gone quickly, and that's why they're leaving that little amount of time to reassess. And then, so, I'm sure Labor Day, if it's still bad, they say, we're going to keep these schools on virtual.
Well, we have a
So-
meeting the week after Labor Day,
The
so why don't we
13th.
just reassess at that meeting, see how things are out in public? If that level comes down from the red to orange, maybe we can ease off a little bit.
I think that's a good, I think that looking at it from the school system's point of view, I think that's probably not a good measure for the municipalities, just because of the age range in which the COVID Delta variant is hitting. So it's really, I think it's 35% of kids under 16 that are becoming sick. So that kind of skews some of the data a little bit. So I like the idea of looking at it either every town council meeting or at least by the 13th, because
Okay,
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to have it for a long time. Hopefully it'll be short-lived.
all right. So we'll talk about it again on the 13th, if we could put that on the agenda. But between now and then, we'll reinstate the mask requirement in public places in town buildings and leave it up to the people in the departments to decide how their staff does that.
Will the gym be one of those?
My son Sam was playing basketball up in Indiana, and he had to wear a mask playing basketball. Yeah. So
I mean, what I would just,
I don't know. How do they do
we
it at
can't
schools?
age limit, I guess, but what I would say is from an incremental risk standpoint, if it's only kids in there, those kids have already sat in a classroom together all day. The incremental risk of them going in there, which usually those doors are open and air is blowing
So
through
air moving around.
is they've already sat inside together for a long time and breathe the same air. And then we're not going to help much by making them waterboard themselves while playing basketball in there.
That's true.
Okay.
But they're not the only users of that gym either, so I don't know. That's a thought I just had.
Yeah. That's a sticky wick.
How are they doing it? Do you know how they do it at school, playground, or gym?
Right now, it looks, on the playground outside, the kids don't have to wear masks. Well, right now, they can opt out. They can write a letter. But last year, when everyone had to wear masks, they wore masks everywhere in the building, unless they were in class, K through 2, sitting behind barriers. But what I have seen with young people playing sports is when they're on the actual field playing, that they don't have masks on.
Yeah.
But if they're sitting on the sidelines, they put theirs on. That's what they did in the Olympics, so.
That's right, yeah.
All right, well, we can
Well,
follow
then
the
let's just do what the
rule.
Olympics did.
The Olympics did it that way.
All right, so that'll be the rule.
So if you're running around playing, you don't have to have one on.
That'll encourage activity.
Yeah. and if
Everybody's
you-
going to want to be
yeah.
on the playing field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I think
can't at
that's
the
reasonable.
pool or, yeah. You have to wear a mask in swimming.
Okay, anything else? Then we are